We've all had that moment where you load up your footage and you realise you've made a horrible mistake. Now, while it's okay to make a mistake because it's the easiest way for us to learn from in life, there are two things that we need to know. One is, what mistake did we make? And second, how do we fix it? The number one mistake I see people making when they look at things like photography and making videos is choosing the wrong aspect ratio. Whether you're doing video or photography, you need to think about the viewer's experience. You need to think about the different aspect ratios that can influence their perception of what's happening. Obviously, you use a wider format, you're going to illustrate a larger field of view and give them the logic of taking in the world and the environment around them. However, if you choose a narrower frame, it's going to make us feel obviously a lot more closer, it's going to make us concentrate more on the details, and it's going to make it a little bit more intimate. This can impact obviously the story and the style of the visual. The biggest thing when it comes to this is choosing basically what you do and don't want in the frame. If you know that you're looking at something that's particularly tall, then you're going to want to use a vertical format. You're going to want to change that ratio around. Whereas if you're looking at something more wide landscape, whether you're looking at architecture or group photography or that kind of stuff, then you're going to want to think about that different aspect ratio. So as soft as it sounds, if you're looking at things like food photography and looking at food, if you're going to do all the ingredients, then you're going to want to take it from a much more wide angle shot. Whereas if you're going to do something more like pouring of honey and watching the drizzle fall down onto your pancake, then you're going to want a more vertical, because that is the story. You've got to think about the context of what are you trying to show them and how do you want them to perceive that in order to be able to pick the right aspect ratio and the right framing of your photos and your video. This is just as important across the two, okay? So that's quite a big thing to kind of have a look at. The next biggest thing I see is colour grading and bad lighting, okay? So whether it's a bad colour cast because you've got warm lights and you haven't checked your white balance, or whether you're actually going as far as actually editing in things like LUTs or presets. Now, I am a firm believer that presets can save you time. However, you need to understand the preset and how it works before you can apply it to just about anything, because you need to understand how it's going to impact the visuals that are already there. And that's a really, really big thing, because people can take it and it doesn't fit that imagery, or it doesn't fit that style of photo, or it just doesn't work with the lighting that you particularly have. There are many mistakes that can be made simply by doing this wrong. So having good understanding of what is happening, not only in your scene, but what is in that, in essence, quick action, is really, really important to make sure that they actually complement each other and don't clash. Using the wrong one can totally ruin the image that you have there, and it'd be a real shame to see that. Finally, the biggest thing that I know, that the mistake that everybody makes, is self-doubt. We all believe that we can't quite do it, or we don't quite have the ability, or we don't have the right gear, or more importantly, my classic of, there's something wrong with this, but I just don't know what it is. And you get that gut response that as a viewer, something is off, but you don't have the knowledge and the understanding to be able to say, oh yeah, it's just that. That's all you need to tweak. It's not a problem. Now, the biggest thing with that is having the guts to turn around and ask for feedback. Now, while feedback on places like social media is absolutely fantastic because it'll give you a lovely boost, people don't actually have the knowledge behind it to be able to tell you. So therefore, it's about asking the right person, having a coach, or having somebody who has a good either graphic or obviously photography side of things, videography, is really, really important to be able to say, okay, it's just that mistake you've made. It's not a problem. You can fix it. Most things can be fixed in post-processing if you understand it, and that's the real key here. You have to understand what's happening before you can change that. So if you are sitting there and thinking, I really wish I knew what was wrong with my photo, but you're having that moment where you're not quite sure how you feel about it, fill out the form below. I'll give you a hand, okay? Because I think it's really important that if you want to grow, then you need to be able to know where your problem areas are so that you can learn how to fix them. If you like this, hit like, and if you want more of these things, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. I'll see you next time.